Morning, guys. Friday morning here in Texas, and I'm out here in the shop working on this little walnut panel that I'm putting together for. It's going to be at the top on an end table. It's going to go on a sewing base, one of the sewing machine treadle bases for my wife. Have a really short one. It's a standard base from early part of the 1900s. It's really short, so it'll make a great end table, and she's kind of excited about that. So I've been out here working on this black walnut panel that I'm putting together. And I thought I would talk about kind of how I do this, because there's been some discussion. Some of the new people in the group are talking about sanders and different things, how to level these out, and what to use. And everybody's got a different way to do it, right? Everyone talks about, well, I use a belt sander, this sander, orbit sander, 80 grit. I sand up to 489 grit, whatever. So thought I would just talk about these, because we don't get a lot of talk about these. And when you bring them up, a lot of the newer people out there are like, well, I use this instead, and that's something, and I get tear out, and that doesn't work, and nobody kind of really understands these, it seems like, much anymore. So I thought I would just kind of talk about it just for a minute. Hope I don't ramble too long. But glued this panel up yesterday, and I came out here to level this out. So I start with this. This is a number 7 joiner plane. It's a Bailey plane. I'm pretty partial to these. And this is a number 4 smoothing plane. All right, and I got all different kinds of these to choose from, but these are kind of my go-to for something this size. So to start with, glue my panel up, get it pretty straight, all the joints and everything. But occasionally, you get one that's a little bit higher or whatever. So when you get it all done, you got to level it out. So I could spend half an hour sanding this and make a bunch of dust and all kinds of noise in here, but I literally spent about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes with this plane right here, shaving this down and getting it all straight, right? And it goes really quick, and it's easy, it's quiet, doesn't put a lot of dust in the air, and it's just kind of fun to do, honestly. So then talk about putting the finish on it. And back in the old days, they didn't use a lot of sandpaper on a lot of our old furniture that we have, because the technology just wasn't there at the time. So they use these. This is a smoothing plane. It's a number 4. It's another Stanley Bailey plane. And the truth is, you can put a really fine finish on a panel with these. And the reason is because these irons here, razor sharp, they actually cut the grain smooth and clean, rather than when you sand it, it kind of tears it, right? That's a fact. But it's also a fact that when you sand it, you kind of get these little tears on the fibers, but you still get a really smooth finish. And the fun fact about both of those things is that neither one of those is perceptible to the human eye or to the touch. So it doesn't really, matter how you do it. And you get a lot of guys who are like, well, I sand up to, 600 grit. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, but just in my opinion, it's kind of overkill, because you can't feel the difference. You can't see it when you put a finish on it and the finish builds. Nobody's gonna come in and go, wow, you sanded that up to 600 grit. Wow, nobody can tell. Nobody knows. You can't tell either. So that's kind of a little extreme in my opinion. But if that's what you do, that's your thing, right? Cool. So the discussion was, we were talking about sanders, and one of the new people was like, what do I use to do this? And so we brought this up and talked about the hand planes, and the thing was, yeah, but there's some crazy grain in the knots, and they're getting the tear out. And that's true, that does happen. Here's a perfect example of it. This black walnut got this knot right here, which has to stay in her table because she loves the character of these things in her wood. So you can see right here, all this grain goes in different directions around something like this here. So when you're knocking it down with the joiner plane, you're going to get some tear out. And I also messed up, by the way, when I was gluing this up. I wasn't paying attention. I was actually talking on the phone like an idiot. And I put one of my boards in the wrong direction. So you can plane this way and the grain's good, and then you hit this way, you're going the wrong way, and you start getting some tear out and stuff. And then we have this big mess to deal with. So here's how it's done here. You got something like that. You smooth the panel out with your big plane, and that takes, like I said, about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. So that's done. So now we got to smooth it all out and get it ready for finish, right? So I have this all this rough grain around this knot right here. Now, with all the tools we have available to us nowadays, there's nothing saying that I couldn't use this joiner plane to smooth this out, get my joints all level, get my glue lines all cleaned up, and then finish sanding this up with my sander. There's nothing wrong with that. It works fine. And it would probably do a great job right here. But the question was, what do I do when I'm using a plane and I get into this stuff right here? So I thought I would talk about that. What I do is you can kind of tell the way the grain lays in these things. Right, and it's going to go in all different kind of directions. So you take something like your smoothing plane right here, nice razor sharp edge on your iron there, and I'll just take this plane and I'll work around the different directions, taking very, very light cuts, like you can see where I did some of it here. Just kind of shave it down real smooth and work it out until this all comes out, and then we'll go ahead and smooth the rest of the whole panel out, and it'll be great, and it'll take an oil finish, and it'll look fine. Some of the rougher spots, maybe you might have to come over it a little bit with the card scraper or whatever when you're done, just to clean it up. But it's real quick, real simple, real easy to do. And it's going to look great when it's done. But there's really nothing saying that I can't clean that up with my plane, come over it with my sander and sand it up to 220 and put some oil on it and a top coat, and it's still going to look just great. There's really no hard, fast rules to all this as far as how you get it there. It's just a matter of, we know we have to get it smooth, we have to get it leveled out, and we have to get it clean to take a finish. But this is just another way to get it done. Very cheap to get these, this, like I said, this was a $70 plane, but if I buy one of the high-end planes today that matches this quality, you're talking $700, $800. This is gonna be probably $300 or $400, and it's gonna be, they're all based on this design anyway, so it's another reason I really kind of like these, because I'm kind of into the history of it all anyway. So just thought I would share this with you guys. Real simple to do, really worthwhile skill to learn how to use these things. And the cool part about being good at these is, I build a lot of tables. I think the biggest table I've done has been like a 4x8, and it was all poplar, and they were all 6-inch boards. So there was a lot of leveling to do on it. And with something like this right here, I can joint these boards, get them edged up, glue them up, level the panel out, clean them up with just these tools right here. So, you don't have to have a giant planer, you don't have to have a big joiner and all that stuff if you don't have the room or the budget for it. Obviously it helps if you do, but it's not necessary. You can still do some pretty great work without a lot of real fancy, expensive equipment. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. You guys have a great weekend. Enjoy your woodworking.